Shady's back again. That's right. We're back on. I'd say the main channel, but we ain't there yet. We're back on the fuck ass. Just thought I'd do an update. What I thought I wanted to check in with you about is the car's been sitting doing nothing other than being started every now and again. And because it's a Ford, it's developed new leaks. And I thought I would investigate these said leaks. I've been in here for a little while. Can't wait to get outside again. Give it a month. The goal is 1 month from today. Today's like 9th of February. 1 month from today, this completely finished, ready for players. We're doing a Road to Players series. That's what's happening. A Road to Players series where this, by let's say the middle of March, is going to be sitting ready, waiting for players. So all I've got to do when players comes, turn the key, bosh. I don't know, I like the idea of it. Anyway, I thought I would investigate this oil leak real time. I put like a daylight light down here. I've got these ones above because the car's back to front. I just had a coffee. I'm wired up. Just walked through the spiderweb and now I'm super itchy. But what I thought we'd do is we would look at this together. Now you can see there in the background, down here on the floor, there's a leak. Now I know I've got one coming out of, let's get on the floor, shall we? And of course it gets dark as soon as I lay down there, but luckily I've brought my little light in. Fucking hell. No, that is not an insignificant leak. That is coming from somewhere. Now my first one, I know, and as that is, it doesn't, do you know what my problem is? Oh, I've just ripped my hoodie.
Another one.
Always give it a sniff. I think. Now I've got a really bad sense of smell because of the last time I shouldn't say that word, should I? Seeded. I think that's gearbox oil. Because that, even though my engine oil is brand new, that does look a little bit like gearbox oil, and it does smell like the gearbox oil. And I've just seen a drip, Eurodrip, from there. Now that is the gearbox. In there. Now my suspicions were, now I've got twofold oil leak. Oh, let's have a little, I'll show you there. That's quite good. Now this fitting here is the only fitting that we haven't made for the car, this one here. And that's the oil sump return. Now I was going to weld that up and put an AN 10 on it, or whatever it is. I think it's a 10, might be an 8, not sure. Never know with the 8 and the 10s. Yeah, it's a 6 feed, I think it's an 8 return. Maybe, I'm not sure. You can see how much it leaks. All of this upper sump, it's really hard to see here. All of this upper sump is damp. And that shouldn't be damp. None of this should be wet. None of this should be oily. But it is. And you can see all of this is oily as well. That's actually surprisingly wet, look. So I know that 100% is leaking, and I don't know why. I don't think it's this fitting. It seems to be coming back out. I want to put my head in this oil behind me. Ed and Eddie.
Did you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Yeah, this fitting in. I don't think it's coming out of this fitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this apart. I'm going to clean all of this up. And then I'm going to put sealant, the old Victor Ryan sealant, inside this. And potentially on this thread. And if it still leaks, then I'm going to rip all of this out and do it all again. Because it's only the drain line from the turbo ski, which comes up here. And I sort of one-banged that, expecting it to not really work or look good, but actually it's got a permanent slope on it, and because it's a hard line, it holds its form. I tried to do this with a hose, it just would not work, but the idea of doing a hard line and it's worked. But that leaks, and it shouldn't, it never should have. And if you can see there, look, it goes bloop, bloop. Doesn't look like it here, but that drips to the angle. That is directly above this. So that drips onto this. As this is getting hot, this smokes. This is then, luckily, heat wrap, but that is not ideal, is it? The second leak, you can see a drip there. Dun, dun, dun. Oh baby, baby. Hit me, baby, one more time. I suspected to start with, it's not coming out this hole. And that would be, let's just see if we can get a bit of a light in there. If that was leaking, I would say that's crank rear seal that goes behind the flywheel, and that is a gearbox off job, and I really don't want to do that. Although I've got a new box, well, this box is pretty good. This has got decent gears in it. I've got a new diff, lightweight clutch, double plate clutch, blah, 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 all that shit. I don't really want to pull this box off unless I blow something up, because it's not a massive job, it's just a really shit job, which I prefer to avoid. But you can see, let me just get the light up here, this is all wet. All wet round here, proper wet, and as it's dripping, I think it's coming all the way around there, and then that's probably our lowest point at the angle, and it's just forming a drip. So I don't know, I've got to investigate. I will take you along for the ride, but it looks wet from the upper sump down. This here, sorry, this here, this is a sump, this is our sump, and this is our upper sump. So this has got a windage tray in it, and then the crank is up here. So as the oil gets slung off the crank, it goes into here, drains down and drops into there. So it's actually quite a nice setup, but these metal lined gaskets that sit here, I'm trying to do this with the camera, sorry. Let's put a bit of light, I'm trying to get your light on there. I've got light in. Let me try and zoom you in. There you are. You see that line there? That is a metal centered gasket, and it's got a rubber. These upper sump gaskets always leak. I'm not sure why. I just think they hate life. They hate their job. They never wanted to leave their job, but they just stuck with it, and they're shit at it. You know those sort of people. So they're still getting paid, but they do a shit job. So it's positive in some things, in the fact that I don't think I have to pull the box. Yeah! It's negative in the fact that I've got to do another upper sump gasket, and I've done, I think, 4 of them. And the last time I really thought I'd nailed it. If you follow the oil, you can see where the oil's been sort of leaking, just very slightly, probably every time I've started it. It's been running. I thought maybe it was coming through this hole, and it was the gearbox, even though the oil does smell a bit weird, I'm not gonna lie. But you can see it's been running down this hole along here, and you can just see like a thicker oil there, and it's running with the slope of the car to that point. At least I haven't got to take the timing belt off again, or the aux belt. Oh god, it's such a twat of a job, this. But we don't quit. We are in. Wish I could do like a decent David Attenborough voice and pretend like we're hunting gazelles on the plains of the Serengeti, but we're not. So, what have I done? I basically took everything off. So we've got downpipe off, oil return off. I've started breaking all this down. I've pulled the belt off of the pump, disconnected it up here as well. Just want to give you a bit of a light. Because it's an inline strain that goes, that's the direction of flow. You can see that way. So all of your debris, if you've got any, will run down the outside of that, down to the front. And it's so that they don't block up. If you had it that way, it would block up the flow, right? It would fill it up, but that way, it pushes it to the outside, so you've always got flow. This end is always the end that leaks, especially this one here. I don't know why. I don't know whether there's a thermal difference between the block expansion and the gearbox mostly being cold, big slab of cold metal. And there's some sort of weird thermal expansion that after a certain amount of cycles it leaks, or it creates a halfway through. The Haynes manual says to put a dollop of Victor Ryan's shit in each corner, which I'll show you on the bench. Now, I either did or didn't do that last time and thought I had sort of hacked the solution. Turns out I didn't put the sealant on the corners. I have an explanation for both ways of why I have and haven't done that in the past, and why I'm going to defend myself on this one, even though I think, looking at it, that's probably what's caused it to leak. Now, I'm going to get the Haynes manual open in a minute and go through what it says. I'll get it in a sec. But before I get shot for doing the wrong thing, what I will say is that if you look at the way these are formed, you've got like a double seal. So it's got an inner protector. If it goes through that, don't worry, it's just a bit of oil. It's not metal. Don't worry. And then if it goes through to this way, it's got another way to block it, and then you've got this metal here. Now, I don't know. So the Haynes manual, I think, says to put a dollop in each corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I've done that in the past, and what I think's happened is the sealant, the old Victorine sealant, blocks up. It's quite hard to see that side. It's the same, it's a mirror. So it blocks up these little indents or little raised parts. Don't know what you want to call them really, and almost creates like a completely flat plane. Like I don't know what the sealant's really called. People call it RTV or something like that. But yeah, anyway, the Victorine's sealant, sump sealant. The way I see it in the past is I'll put some on this corner. It blocks up all the ridges and just allows the oil to just sleep through, especially when it's hot, right? Oil is super viscous and it goes straight through, or lack of viscosity. I forget which way around it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And the oil, you know, it's like if you put that, what's it called, wetter water or whatever, in your radiator, it always finds a leak because it becomes molecularly smaller, so it can slip through. So the way I see it is if I'm putting sealant in these corners in the past, it fills all that up and then the oil can seep through. But I've obviously not done it this time, and it worked for a while, and now it's fucking leaked through. So, and it's done it on all corners, so that's wet. That's drier, to be fair. And that's also not bad at all, really. But it is all damp. But as you can see in the sump here, it's all as it should be. There's no metal or nothing. There's no metal in the oil that I've dropped out and the filters or nothing, so we're all good. But this is still a conundrum. Get it all together. But anyway, I digress. I'm waffling again. I know I'm trying not to waffle, but it's the inner workings of fucking madman. So I'm not going to go too mad. No, don't that. That's the pump end. That's wet as well. So it's all been leaking, all of it. Right, okay. Whatever the Haynes manual tells me to do, I'm going to do. Daddy Haynes. And what I'm going to show you in 2 minutes is if I put a flat edge across that, you'll see that it's flat. Now I know that might be fucking obvious, but my point is that the seal, the way it sits and it goes around that corner, I'm not putting any pressure on that straight edge. So that, if you torque it up, that is going to lay unanimously flat, right? Not doing anything special there. You can see, like, by the way I'm sweeping that across. That's flat. Goes around that corner, around the end there, even though that has clearly been weeping. You can see it's come over there, but it might be me now, so I can't really look at that. The crime scene has been tampered with. On these ends here, which is the end that is sodden and it's been proper leaking, you'll see this is actually higher by quite a bit. I would say there's probably, that's really hard to see now because this bastard's sticking up. Here we go, that might be better. So the tip of that vernier is not pushing hard on the rubber, but I'm floating millimeters. Even if I angle it favourably towards the seal, there's at least a millimetre or more underneath between there and this inner seal. So obviously if you're torquing this bolt up to the same as these bolts, what you're trying to do is you're trying to compress those seals to not be flat, but to prevent, you know, a barrier for the oil going out the top. But if this bolt here is at the same torque, my question is, are you ever going to be able to compress that rubber? See that corner there is a proper lump. Let me see if I can try and get you see daylight through the other side. So is it really? So maybe you need to torque these ones up in the corner like a fucking shitload more to compress that right down and trap it up. That could be a reason. We might have identified why these sump gaskets always fucking leak. It's because this is a bit lumpy. Now I am not going to be modifying none of this stuff, but what I can do is give it a bit more beans in this corner. Well, of course, once you've got oil going through, it's like water. Water will always find a way. So ideally, you want to do all this when it's dry, and then it sticks down a bit, and then you're good forever. But I'm going to read the Haynes manual now. I'm going to go and see the dog, see what she reckons, because ultimately she's the boss, isn't she? And I'm going to tip all this oil out. So I've just decided I'm pulling the oil pump off. Oil pump's decent, there's no problem with it, but it's not sliding properly on the sliders. So I think these are slightly corroded because they're potentially stainless steel of low grade or mild steel. I'm trying to zoom you in. Yeah, I think they're corroded, so they're just stuck in the alley. No big deal. We'll just take them out, clean them up. This side is wet, this side is dry. I've just pulled the plate that goes on the gearbox side. Not really sure why we have that. It must be some sort of spacer plate or something. It is drenched of oil behind it. It's all the way in there. So it's either leaking out the top here, through there, behind the back there, or it's leaking over the top here, or it's leaking over the top here, but it is sodden. What I have to see, that is all wet. I don't know why that's red, it's always been red. It came like that, so I just left it. It's a bit galvanising, but yeah, that is absolutely dripping as well, so that needs all tidying up. I'm going in for some lunch now, but whatever. It's all broke down. This is all really flat, except for a weird little high spot here. If I had access to a big mill, I would skim that. I'm sort of hoping there's like a high spot, but that's not the problem. It's leaking from here. But if I can take it down with a bit of a file, I might do that. I might stick all the tissue in here and file it flat, because at the moment it's very slight. If you go like worst case now, it's up like a millimetre at the end there. But if you rock it and walk it in, I'm just going side to side. It's definitely here, it's on this point here. So I don't think it would take much. But I'm going to do the best job I possibly can to put this back together to not ever leak again. But as you can see, it is just disgusting. I don't want to take this lower sump off either. But it's starting to look like I might have to. And then just reseal it all and just do a proper job of it, and then I can scrub it all. I didn't even know this was going to be a problem. I did not think that this would be another job on the road to Players 2026. This is all unplanned. This is not a planned job. Unplanned work. But that's just how it is sometimes. This is, I guess, what you just call maintenance, right? This is just a maintenance, you know, with sort of the cars we play around with. This is maintenance. So That's my offset for my little water hose. Yeah, this is just maintenance. This is something you've got to do every now and again. You shouldn't have to, but you do. But I think I've identified why this is leaking now, so whatever. We're going to have a look at it. I'm going to take the Haynes manual in for some lunch. And then I'm going to spend some time with the dog, ask her opinion. Also as well, this is... this here. Hard to see. I'm not going to flip it over because it's going to just piss all over me. This is another one of my leaks. This is a part that I purchased from a company years ago, and it's never ever sealed properly. It's always been shit. So I'm going to open that O-ring out, and I'm going to put another O-ring in it. And I'm also going to put some sealant on it as well, so it's sealed right up tight. But if that doesn't work, I've just had an idea. I've seen that inside here there's a thread, and that's on the other side of here. So what I might do is I might take measurements and dimensions all off of this here, get a thread gauge on it and all that stuff, and then effectively make something that screws into that. So make it, I don't know, let's go crazy and say triple O-ringed that screws into that. It's got like an AN10 on the back of it, or an AN8 or whatever it is that I use, because I do keep some stock. So I could turn a bit of alley down, put a thread on it, and do that. I don't really want to do that as a solution. I just want this fucking shit to work. It's just so boring when you buy something. So it probably was like 50 quid or something. But if that doesn't work, then I'm going to do this one here. Not only can I then seal that thread with the Loctite 454 or whatever it's called, but I can also double O-ring that, triple O-ring that, quadruple O-ring that, seal that, and then it can't ever leak, can it? It's a Ford, right? Of course it's going to leak. But that's then maybe a better solution. So I'm going to measure that out. I'll do a little fusion model of it. See what happens, see what we can do. But I am clucking for some porridge with a little bit of Nutella in it and a cup of tea with a dog. So yeah, that is it. Here we are. Looking a lot worse than when we started. 20 minutes later. Touch me in the morning, last thing at night. Keep my body warm, baby. Anyway, so what I've separated upper sump, or lower crankcase as it's affectionately known, so I've found out today. This is your sump, holds the oil. This is your windage tray, crank goes around the top, sloshes all the oil out, keeps it nice and uniform coming through. Lovely jubbly. Anyway, that's obviously leaking above that because it's wet, but also you'll see here, this is gasket sealant. That is all wet, all along there. It's wet down here, and then it dries along here, or not dries, it is dry along here, and then it's fucking sodden all the way around there. So basically, this as well, you can see this, I've just literally gone like that. This is all wet, don't worry about that because that's just where it tipped out. That's dry, that's that bottom edge there, so that can sort of be ignored as well. And then from here up, it is all wet. And not a good type of wet either. This is the bad type of wet. This wet means this is constantly weeping and coming through the seal, which is mental again because I torqued this down exactly as it should be. So what I'm going to do now for next time, I'm going to clean all this up big time. I'm going to scotch pad like these little things here to make this a little bit abrasive and crosshatch, but not put any scores right across it, just so it's a little bit buffy, the Vampire Slayer. And then what I'll do is on here, I'm going to make sure this is totally flat. I'm going to clean this with a blade in a minute, which you'll see on the old Hyperlapse. I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to give this to, hopefully I've found a vapor blaster. He can blast this while I'm doing the windows and some other bits in that. So then when it's back, it's clean as a whistle. I think I've decided I'm going to weld that in because I can't see it ever working properly due to it being shit. Also, I was thinking last night, when you've got that in there, so that's your mounting point, right? You put it in there, it's fairly tightish, but it's got an O-ring. When you tighten your AN up against it, you're obviously tightening against it, which is going to compress one side more of that seal than the other. So that's probably not helping towards the leak. That's probably not going to hold it in place under the torque of like an AN10, doing it up tight, because obviously you don't want the fitting to leak. So I think that is a shit idea. So it's going to get welded. Luckily, I keep some rainy day bits. And I got some fittings. So once it comes back from the old cleaner, whoever this geezer is, hopefully that's the right size. Let's have a look. Over here. Yeah, I think that's the right one. So I was going to spin him up and put more things in it, but I'm not going to bother. In fact, I might use that and just cut that round. I'm going to do that and then weld that up because that's at least got a bung in it. I won't put a seal in it. And I'll use that. I'm going to use that because it's already centered on the thingy. Look at that. We're making solutions as we go together. Anyway, well, that's one less thing to think about. So that'll turn that up. That'll be centered perfect. Weld it up. Bosh. You know, that's something I've got to learn as well for the future. For the KA motor, I'll do exactly the same because I have a spare Focus RS upper sump there, which I've had 10 years probably. Never even opened it. That could be 4 bricks in that and some cardboard. Anyway, this is your pickup. So I've just had half a packet of hobnobs and a coffee. This is your pickup for the OPI. Here with the AN12 on the back. So I'm going to clean all of this up now, which is going to be really boring to watch. So I'll speed through it on hyperlapse and I'll put a cool tune on it. But this here, you can see I am pissing in the wind. So this needs a better solution. Again, if I had access to a big CNC, I would scan that perfectly, top down, and I would create a path and I would O-ring that. I would double O-ring it. Like that, because that's a nice flat surface, so that'll bolt up to that. Obviously that's tin as well, bit of fucking mild old crap tin steel, but that you could machine that quite nicely around there, and you could have that as a double O-ring, and you never have to fuck around with it again. But I can't and I don't, so I won't, but that would be really cool to do that. So onward we march. I'm going to clean this up cursory, just to get it all whatever. I'm going to check all this in here, but I think it's all, there's no particulates or nothing. It's all just oily. And then scrape that off with a blade. That's going to be a shit of a job because I've done it before. And I normally use like a shot Purdy or a blade or a blunt-ish, sharp-ish kind of chisel. This one. Because you don't want to dig it in because that's going to create more problems. So yeah, actually this is grown legs now because I've got to do a support on it, got to do that, got to weld this on here. This is leaking again, the other side's leaking. This is why shit takes time. But this is what it takes to have a Ford that doesn't leak, because clearly Ford makes stuff to leak. And so do Clark apparently, because that is now leaking, which is shit. Because, here you go, I'm going to have a little rant now because I'm allowed to. And
here we go.
I've been starting to stop in the car for about, a couple of months now. And I came to get the car the other day. I came to get under the car the other day, and I thought that's a bit tight. Thought I had more clearance, so I just came around the back, looked, and it had dropped probably like 500 mil. And I was like, why is that drop 500 mil? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I pumped it back up, got on with life, and then as you may or may, so I'm just pulling my wheel over. As you may or may not have seen on the gram, it's pissing oil out. I don't know if I can zoom in. Is that over here somewhere? It's pissing oil out of that cylinder. So lucky it's got the safety, so that thing would be on its arse. But yeah, oh, let me come out there a little bit. So that is a little bit naughty, and I haven't checked this side yet. So I know that side's shit and leaking. I have no idea what to do about it. I'm not changing brand new seals in a hydraulics fucking cylinder. And this one, I assume is working. This one, I assume it's working okay, but again, it could have a puddle under it. Am I just fucking cursed with hydraulic fluid? I don't know. Anyway, it's time to crack on. I got this to do, the other side of that to do. I hopefully found the vapor blasters in Horsham that will do that for me. At least that'll stay nice then, and it'll come back proper clean, and I'll stand half a chance. Until then. just thought I'd check back in. I'm getting balls deep in it now. That's all done. That's prepped, ready for, doesn't seem, no matter how much I clean shit always seems to fall in it. It's like, I could never be a painter. I'd always find like a hair in the lacquer or some shit. Anyway, I'm cleaning this up now. That's done, inside and out. I've prepped, you'll see on that, I've prepped all the mounting surfaces. What I've done is sanded that all down. It's just drying out. I've completely cleaned it out. But what I've done is I've sanded it totally flat with this block, and also keyed it up with that. So a combination of those is as good as it's going to be. Better than it was anyway, because it was shiny. Anyway, this, I just thought I would show you my technique, even though you're going to see it on the time lapse. You don't want something too sharp, because you'll start digging in, because this is really, really soft. So what you want to do is you keep this as flat as you possibly can, and just go around, basically, getting this sealant off. What you're going to do is you're going to break the edge of a lot of it. You've got to keep it totally, totally flat, and then you can see your low spots anyway. As soon as you've broken the edge, it all just sort of will pull off. But it's quite hard to stay true and flat on it. So what I do is I do this to get rid of the big stuff. That's rock hard there. And then if I need to tidy it up, I use this one because it's blunt. You do not want to sharpen that up because you will just start taking alley out. So it is about as soft as cheese, this shit. So you can see like the machining marks in it. I mean, ultimately, like if you had a big mill knocking about, you just quickly put it on there and face it, wouldn't you? Just take off like 0.1 of a mil, just skim it right across. It's totally flat then, you know what's going on. But I ain't got that privilege. So here we are with the old Purdy, painting and decorator's best mate, and just kicking fuck out of it. So this will be me on the time lapse for a little while now. Here we are, look. Hello, mate. This will be me until this is totally clean. Sometimes I do try and finish it off with a used blade, because that will get you nice and clean. And then when I'm done with that, I'll chase all these out with an old tap. But for now, see, with this, it is so easy to go side to side and want to dig an edge. That's why you always want to spread it across. You don't want to be doing that, because you easily can dig an edge. Even sideways like this is pretty easy to stick it in the wrong hole, the surface. But you can see here where I've pulled this off before. This is when I first ever built the engine. I didn't know how to take the engine apart properly, and I lumped fuck out of it with a big screwdriver. So I've got these bits here. Luckily, the sealant filled them in, but yeah, if I had a big mill on hand that could have this in there, and I could level it all up perfect, I would just plug them up with a bit of weld and just skim it up. But again, so onward we crack, and here we are. She's clean now, at least. Hopefully I can get this vapor blasted ASAP. Oh shit, I need to make a phone call actually. Thanks for reminding me. Peace out.